All right, I smell something good. Time now for better food. On those hot summer days, you might not want a huge meal that takes a long time to cook.
So we have a perfect solution. Chef Ani is here to show us how to create a lighter version of a French classic. It's called a Summer Cassoulet. Am I saying that right, Ani? It's French.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect.
Okay. I don't want to ruin the French dish already.
How are you? Thanks for having me back. This is a great summer dish because, you can use things that are grown in the garden, vegetables from your farmer's share. Your neighbors that have gardens are always giving you squash and zucchini and things like that that you're always wondering what to do with. And this is a really lovely, easy dish. It's almost like creating a slow cooker in your oven. And so you just want to take, there's really not a recipe. There's just a lot of really lovely proportions. You want to start with some onions, and you can mix all kinds. I have leeks and regular onions and garlic. And then you want to add, veggies. You have squash and you have zucchini, eggplant. So you're going to get an oven-proof dish with a little bit of olive oil and butter. On the stove, you're going to put all these things in your onions, your garlic. Make sure you keep your cloves whole. The sharpness from garlic usually comes when you start mincing it. So I just keep my garlic whole, and that gives it a nice mellow sweetness to it. I have some asparagus pieces here, sort of cleaned out my refrigerator a little bit, or you can actually go shopping for the things that you like. I have mushrooms, and if you want to do this vegetarian, mushrooms give it a really beautiful sort of earthiness to it that sometimes people think, there's meat in this, but it's just the mushrooms that you work with. And also I love using dry mushrooms. And when you hydrate them, to use that water as the stock that you're going to put in here, and it just gives it that extra layer of flavor, really delicious. You always want a little bit of tomato product in this. You can use just tomatoes. If you don't want to use tomatoes, you can use a little tomato paste and stir that in. You want to saute these in a little bit of oil and a little bit of butter. This is a really lean dish, and fat. You need a little bit of fat. So if you want to put a little oil and butter in there for some richness, it's great. If you do want to add meat, whatever you want to add, again, it's sort of a preference thing. I have some chicken sausage here that's a little spicy. I have some leftover ham, and I'm going to put all those in here. You can leave it vegetarian. You can use chicken that's cooked or raw. You can use, if you made a London broil on the barbecue and you have some left, you can cut that up and put it in here. And you want to give those a nice stir, in a nice hot pot. Make sure that, they're mixed well. You want to season with salt and pepper. Very simple seasonings. And then you want to add your beans. These are just canned white beans. You can use dry. If you want to use dry, you can cook them, yourself. You want to cook them till just tender. This is a one item I wouldn't skimp on. I would buy better beans. I wouldn't buy, probably the cheapest on the shelf. You want to make sure you buy a nice canned bean. There's probably 30 cents difference between the cans. So, and you want to add this all together. And again, mix it really well. If you want to use herbs, you can use rosemary or tarragon. And then you're just going to mix it super well. If you put a lid on whatever you put it in the oven, put it in a nice low oven, 325 degrees for a couple of hours. You want to add your stock. You want to make sure this is nice and wet before you put it in. I like to use red wine. You can use white wine. You don't have to use any wine at all. The wine will cook out if you're worried about kids. You want to put it in the oven for a few hours. Then you want to take it out. You want to put some nice panko on top. And if you want any cheese, this would be the time to sprinkle a little parm on top of the breadcrumb. But it normally is not something that gets cheese. One more hour, and you get this really beautiful just casserole. And it's just goopy and warm, and but not terribly heavy. And you really don't need anything. Maybe a piece of bread. Maybe a salad, and you have a really nice dinner. You can make it ahead, and you can freeze it, and then pull it out and bake it, or you can freeze it cooked. It freezes beautifully.
Okay.
So it's yeah.
All right, I got a question. Do you drain the beans before you put them into the pot, or do you just throw the whole can in there?
Drain.
Excellent question. So you want to drain the beans because you want to stir all these things together without all that juice. Make sure that they're nice and together, and then you can throw the juice of the beans in if you want to use it. Not everybody likes to use it, so
okay.
You can use stock, wine, water.
Okay, so after you put everything in the pot and you said the stock, do you just put enough? Is there a certain amount, or you just eyeball it? Should the stock cover everything, or should it be half the pan?
Just just cover, like just cover underneath, because these are all things that are going to absorb a lot of liquid.
Okay.
You're going to have it in the oven for 2 hours. You want to check maybe an hour into it, just see that you do have enough liquid, and you can add some more at that time. You don't need to keep stirring it all up, but you want to make sure it's juicy so that, you know, when it comes out, it sort of all has bound together like in a really beautiful, that's what a cassoulet is, nice and,
Yeah.
you know, nice and tight like that. So.
All right. Well, thank you, Chef. We appreciate it. Everything looks delicious. We just wish you were here in the studio so we could eat some of it.
Well, and you have a big event. You can eat your food on June 18th. You have a nice little wine dinner and the weekend kitchen. So, and you also cater for folks so they can find you.
We do, yeah. We're actually going to be serving this Summer Cassoulet with a really beautiful French wine for the wine dinner. So we're excited to be having
June
that, so.
18th. Okay.
To learn more about Chef Ani's catering and events, visit ANISAnisTable.com. There you go.